It was a fun experiment, and that was sort of the feel of it, because no one believed in me. Everyone was laughing at me anyways. Like, my very best friends literally were like, "You're trying to do what? Like, who do you think you are?" When I was, 19, 20, I had just chosen to go a different way. I had my first internships in like the path that we're sort of invited to follow, which is get good grades in school, listen to your teachers, please them, so that you can get into a good college, so that you can get a good job, so that you can settle down. I was sitting in the best internship that you could get for the profession that I had focused on, which was graphic design. And in all the ways, I was doing great. I had a window in my cubicle. I could play soccer at lunch. It was really fun. And at the same time, I was a cog in a wheel for someone else's dream. And that dream happened to be, how are we gonna get more people on screens? And when I recognized that dream, I recognized that everything that I had ever been, that I had created, came from being outside. Like, all of my confidence had come from being a little girl outside. I'd never seen a path laid out where you could support a family following this stuff that had meant so much to me growing up in terms of being outside, running down a single track trail in the trees, hanging out all day, like swinging across rivers as like 12-year-olds. And I just kind of pulled a Hail Mary. I felt like, well, I'm young enough where if I fail, I can start over. And no one else is depending on me yet, so I can afford to fail. In sitting there in my cubicle, I looked back into my life, and these really special moments came out that were significant. And one was soaring down a powder field when I was 13 or 12 or something, because I'm trying to keep up with all my coaches who I don't want to leave me in the forest, and experiencing what I've come to know now as flow state. And it was powerful. I didn't have a word for it. I didn't talk about it. I've heard some other scientific names. I still don't quite understand it, but at that moment it was, what if I could just follow that? And then the other one was sitting in these Warren Miller movies as a young kid and feeling the energy of a crowd in a community that feels like misunderstood. It was like a cool concert. And I was somehow this little kid that had snuck in and got to feel what I've learned is called group flow, where a whole audience seems to have the same experience at the same time. My cousin had been encouraging me to do these extreme contests for years and years. She'd even kidnapped me from college to take me to my first one. I finally was like, well, let's go for this and see if you can, one, follow that feeling, and two, I'd never seen any women in the Warren Miller movies, and, well, I can see just as well as the guys I've seen in there. Why not just go give it a try? I would do one thing a day toward this fun dream. Within 2 years, I had won the extreme skiing contests tour, and I had gotten into Teton gravity research. I was kind of like, holy smokes, that worked. What do I do now? It's such a sacrifice inside, yeah. So I get my first break to come to Jackson Hole and show what I can do on skis, and I'm so excited because I've been training for this for the last year, so I was ready. And That first day was an absolute dream. I slept in my car that night and then showed up to the parking lot bright and early, got on the early tram, the boys. That was the first day I met Schroeder Baker, who I will forever be grateful to because he stood up for me in my first filming experience that got a little weird. You know, we hiked out Cody Bowl, and the first line I skied was triple cliffs. And this is something supposedly they hadn't seen a female do. I was like, cool, that they like that, awesome, all right. And then we were hiking further into the backcountry, and the premier cinematographer points up and he's like, why don't you go hit that? And I look up this sheer rock cliff and I literally can't see the top. And I'm like, hit what? And Schroeder at that moment goes, dude, bro, dude. Not our first day, dude, bro, come on. And me having never done anything like this, I'm like, oh, okay. I really needed somebody to be watching out for me at that moment. And I'm so grateful that Schroeder was there. One day of shooting gave me my first segment. It was the next day that something else was pointed out that didn't feel right, and it ended my season and it ended the year. It's just a hero of a day. Everyone is so excited and proceeds to party all night. Being the athlete that I'm trained to be, went to bed and was the only athlete that showed up in the morning. I remember the light being just a little overcast in that hazy sort of way, and had really grumpy vibes in that first tram right up the mountain. For me, it's my second day filming, and I can certainly feel it, but I'm showing up. We do the same hike again, about a 40-minute hike up Cody Peak. I ski the same line, and at the bottom of it, I fall, and I don't fall, like not in weird places like that, which told me I was tired. The only other person that's out there with me besides this principal cinematographer is the intern. The cinematographer points to this double cliff line that it also had that ominous feeling of like, another 40-minute hike to get to the top to be able to ski that. And the intern that's with me is like, this doesn't really feel right. And I'm like, yeah, it just doesn't feel right. It's kind of, You know, we both go over the radio like, hey dude, we're not gonna hit this. It doesn't look good, it's fracturing. He comes back over the radio in a really inappropriate way that a young girl should never be put in the circumstances of. That's the day I learned a huge lesson about who I was willing to do what for, and sadly made the wrong decision and ended up going ahead with this and blowing out my knee and having a whole year of really struggling. On my parents' couch again, lost my boyfriend, basically failed, and had the whole year to think about it without my biggest coping mechanism, which was being able to move. I rehabbed for a year. I came back, won the first competition that I came back into, and right after that had another bad film experience that had me sitting on the couch for another year. While that was one of the most uncomfortable experiences of my life, I realize now that it absolutely helped me grow in one of the biggest ways, and also showed me how much further I could push my own personal expectations than I ever thought. After a year of sitting and a few more years of looking at it, I ended up going back and sending this big cliff that I couldn't even wrap my head around the very first day. I don't mind going back just for a split second, and I love knowing that now we the older cats are motivated, the next young and proud, how we wrote his rap. From the source in me, I need to set it free, It also motivated me to try to change the way the industry operates, or the rules of the so-called system, and to empower more girls to use their voice and to stand for their voice, and also to know that they're so much more capable than we were ever taught we were.
Well, recently we were in the IFSA comp, so Lynsey was helping us get into Toilet Bowl and Tower 3 and figure out our line choices.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun there. We love on-piste, off-piste, pretty much anything the mountain provides. We enjoy. How'd you do at the comp? You got first, right? Yeah.
You know, if I could push the limits in this way, either from creating a career that wasn't there before, that everyone said it was a joke, to jumping off a cliff that I was told that the female body isn't capable of surviving. You know, what else could I do? And that absolutely gave me the confidence that I needed to make the ski film that I hadn't seen made in the 10 years that I had been in ski films and working with film production companies. It's a pretty big thing to take on a ski movie, especially again when everyone's like, who are you to try to do that? You've never done any production work, you don't have any experience. And that was pretty much what I heard from people, if I heard from them at all. I absolutely used the same strategies that I had before, which was visualization, the idea that it's just an experiment, it's a fun thing that I'm curious about, and I'll just try as hard as I can. And if I even get to reach one little girl and she has a sense of that she belongs, then my job is done. And it ended up actually being a super success, and the comments went from like laughter to like, it was actually good. I got that so many times, like, thanks. I got that so many times. She actually did it. Since then, it's absolutely been a motivator to try to show women and girls that we belong outside in our authentic way, from just having fun and giggling and fashion and singing on a chairlift to connecting with each other and recognizing we can do more than we thought we could. That's turned into shejumps.org. It's turned into Unicorn School and Unicorn Picnic gear. The podcast I started, Showing Up, all the work I'm doing is not just for women and girls. Like, we all need the mental shift on what a woman's place is, how to treat a woman or a girl, what we need. We're doing the best we can, and also shifting the mindset so that our kids know a totally different world than we did.